Hello, I'm Rob Martinez, State Historian of New Mexico. Let's talk New Mexico history. Was New Mexico a colony of a colony? For about the last year or so, as state historian, I've been thinking about our colonial period in New Mexico. We are often described as a Spanish colony. Now, let's look at what a colony is. Typically, a colony is an extension of the mother country. And there's a real intense and direct relationship between the mother country and the colony. For example, Mexico was definitely a colony of Spain in the 1500s, 1600s, 1700s, and into the 1800s. That means there were a lot of goods, wealth, mineral wealth that went to Spain, that were extracted from Mexico and sent to Spain. And typically goods would be manufactured there or in Mexico and then sold back to the colony. It was very much a relationship that favored the mother country, but also changed the colony and created the colony as a type of offspring in a way of the mother country. Now, granted, the local people of Mexico, the native peoples of Mexico, were integral to creating what would later become Mexico. Essentially, that starts around 1519, 1520, when Spain and native Mesoamerica start to blend in every way possible. So New Mexico, by about 1598, starts to become a colony. But the question is, was it really a colony of Spain? New Mexico really never had an economic, cultural, or political direct link to Spain. Of course we had connections to Spain. I'm not saying we didn't and don't. I'm just saying that all of these connections that we could say about Mexico and Spain were filtered through Mexico and then came to New Mexico. Politically, we were not governed from Madrid. We were governed from Mexico City during the colonial period. Economically, we were connected mainly to places like Nueva Vizcaya, places like Parral, in what's now Chihuahua, Durango, these places in what's now northern Mexico. That's where we had a religious connection. That's where we had a economic connection. All the goods that New Mexico produced, animal hides, blankets, fanegas of corn, dried foods, would be sent to these parts of the world. Some of it may have made their way down to Mexico City or Guadalajara, but it's unlikely much of it then went to Spain. And even if it did, it first went to Mexico City. So culturally, we also have this Spanish culture that's filtered through colonial Mexico. Our language, our way of worship, it's all connected to places like Durango, Zacatecas, Parral, Mexico City. The people that came here came from Spain, the Canary Islands, places like that. They'd go to Cuba and then to Veracruz, Mexico, and Mexico City. They may stay in these places for decades or even a few generations and marry local people, local women or local men, and then come up to New Mexico as colonists, as people who are a blend of Spain and colonial Mexico. So I want you to think about this because it helps us to better understand who we were and who we are. Our language as a variant of colonial Mexican Spanish and Mexican Spanish, clearly with roots in Spain, but filtered through Mexico, Mexican, Native American languages, and other peoples of the colonial system of Spain, the greater colonial system. Of course, New Mexico is part of the greater Spanish Empire, but let's remember, we're a frontier. We're on the edge of empire. We're not central to Mexico's empire, not like Peru was with the silver mines, or Mexico with gold and silver that was funding Spain's empire in the 1500s and 1600s. New Mexico created its own unique culture that was more a part of northern New Spain, Nueva España, culturally, politically, and economically. We were part of the colonial Mexican church in the 1600s, 1700s, and half of the 1800s. And racially, we're a mix. We're mixing Spanish people with Portuguese people, French people coming in, Puebloan, Apache, Navajo, Mexican Indian, and people who are part African over the generations. So New Mexico, from my perspective, is a place that used to be a colony of a colony. We were a colony of colonial Mexico. And by that connection, we were then, by virtue of being a colony of colonial Mexico, we were therefore connected to Spain. So that's some food for thought. For me, the state historian of New Mexico. There are more episodes coming up. Please stick around, and I'll see you next time. Adios. Goodbye.